HOAs are creatures of paperwork. They exist only as long as the state allows them to charters. Licenses. Registrations. Annual filings. Insurance bonds. Compliance audits. Most boards forget that. 2 days after my home was demolished, the HOA president held a victory meeting. I note this because the minutes were later entered into evidence. They toasted with cheap champagne, congratulating themselves on finally dealing with the problem owner on the hill. That same morning, the Secretary of State's office received my request. By noon, 3 state agencies were involved. By sunset, the HOA's bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. The board didn't realize anything was wrong until their property manager's access card stopped working. The formal notice arrived the following Monday. Notice of immediate administrative suspension. Reason, operating outside jurisdiction. Secondary findings, fraudulent liens, forged court documents, illegal demolition, impersonation of legal authority. Their lawyer called me for the first time that afternoon. He didn't trade in. He didn't argue. He begged. I told him we'd speak in court. The hearing was standing room only. Homeowners filled the benches, confused and scared. They thought this was about fines or rules or landscaping disputes. The judge began reading the findings. By page 3, the HOA president was crying. By page 5, the board members were being individually named for civil liability. When the judge asked whether the state wished to intervene, I stood. That was the moment recognition spread through the room, whispers, gasps, phones discreetly searching my name. Yes. That governor. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult anyone. I simply explained that no private organization is above property law, due process, or basic jurisdiction. And when one decides to act like a government, it will be treated like one, under criminal standards. The ruling was brutal. The HOA's charter was revoked effective immediately. All contracts were void. All fines were nullified. The association was dissolved. Then came the civil suits. Every homeowner received notice that the HOA could no longer represent them. The board members were held personally liable for demolition costs, emotional damages, and fraud. My mansion will be rebuilt. Better. Stronger. Exactly as it was. The HOA president took a plea deal. The board will never sit on another committee again. And every time I drive past that valley now, I see identical houses without an HOA sign at the entrance. Just a patch of dirt. Where authority once pretended it existed. My mountain mansion sat alone on a ridgeline, 3 miles from the nearest HOA boundary. No shared roads. No shared utilities. No covenants. No signatures. It bought the land decades earlier, before the valley below was carved into identical houses and decorative mailboxes. The HOA had tried to pull me in before, letters, emails, fines for things like non-approved roofing color and unregistered exterior lighting. I ignored them every time. My attorney sent a single response years ago: my property is not subject to your association. Apparently, they didn't like that answer. The letter claimed I owed $14,600 in accumulated fines. If unpaid within 10 days, the HOA would exercise emergency authority to remove a dangerous and non-compliant structure. Emergency authority. For a private home. Outside their jurisdiction. I forwarded the letter to my legal team and went back to work. I had a legislative session coming up, and mountain air helped me think. I assumed, incorrectly, that no one would be stupid enough to add that boundary. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at short 12 a.m. Sir, my caretaker said, voice shaking, there are machines on the property. I didn't even ask which machines. By the time I reached the overlook above my estate, the sound had already done the damage. Bulldozers. Excavators. A crane. Men in neon vests moved with rehearsed confidence, as if they'd done this many times before. Half my west wing was already gone. I got out of the car and shouted. The site supervisor walked over with a clipboard, calm and smug. Court order, he said. HOA lien foreclosure. We're authorized. I asked to see the order. He handed me a photocopy so poorly forged it still listed the wrong county. I told him to stop. He smiled. Take it up with the HOA, sir. And just like that, my home, the place my children learned to walk, the place my late wife designed room by room, was reduced to rubble by lunchtime. The HOA president didn't answer my calls. Neither did their lawyer. By nightfall, the news helicopters arrived. Luxury mountain home demolished over HOA dispute scrawled across the screen. Social media had opinions. Most assumed I was some rich fool who ignored the rules. I let them think that. The next morning, I stood in front of the ruins and made exactly one phone call. Cancel my afternoon meetings, I said. Draft an executive agenda. And notify the Secretary of State. They asked why. I looked down at the broken stone and twisted steel where my home once stood. Because and how just committed multiple felonies, I said calmly. And am about to remove their right to exist.